Hello and welcome back to another video. The Traitor Curse Part 2 has been dropped today, so we have a lovely host of patch notes to go through, including new maps, new weapons, the Stimms update and a change to the veteran tree. There are a host of weapon buffs and nerfs, as well as some other bits and bobs as well. So I'm just going to jump through it all, and we'll see if this all puts a big smile on our faces. So, devoted rejects, they got a new mission, Warrant 619, Habzone HL 7004. The rot goes deeper than we feared, and so must we. Head into the back alleys of the carnival in a new mission. Wyrmwood agents report increased traitor activity and a worrying rise in stim use. Find out what you can, and destroy the Mobian stim production facilities. Well, sounds interesting. The little screenshot we've got here looks interesting. We've seen a little bit of footage already from the teasers. Yeah, we'll jump into that in another video. It's very, very exciting times. We've got the Karnak Twins ambushing strike teams. The Karnak Twins have slipped their leash and have been sighted across Tertium. During missions, players can encounter one of the twins, either Rinder or Rodin. Might have got the pronunciation wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. Be on your guard and steel yourself for the fight to come. This combat encounter will be time limited. You'll also receive the following information. And we've just got the redacted message. I'm sure maybe this means that we're going to unlock the redacted message over time. Does that mean that time limited is actually time limited and we have to unlock the redacted message? I don't know yet. I've not really delved into the game. Let me know if it is. I'm sure I'll find out momentarily after this anyway. But we move straight into new weapon marks after this. So there's 4 new foldable shovels, 3 new chain weapons. There's a new las pistol and a new stub revolver, as we already knew, and we also have a new combat blade, which is a couple more things than we expected. We didn't expect the combat blade, so that's funky. All those knife users going to be very, very happy with this one. So we have foldable shovels, where we've got the Monitorum Mark 3 and 7 sapper shovels for the veteran, and the Brute Brainer Mark 19 and 5 latrine shovels. So, the difference between these 4 shovel variants is essentially the moveset. So, the 3 and 7 sapper shovel folding variants just have different moves to make them vary slightly differently. Sort of like the Katakan Mark 7 and 4 having an opposing strike pattern. That's the kind of thing they mention here, so it'd be the same with the Brute Brainer variants as well. The new thing for these is that the weapon special attack folds the blade, turning the shovel into a makeshift pickaxe for one powerful strike down attack that then resets the weapon back to its unfolded state after a successful hit. The new veteran sapper shovels used a pointy end that is exposed when folded to make a precise strike that gets stuck in an enemy when hit and also gives extra damage when the weapon is yanked out. The Ogren's latrine shovel goes for a more simple, powerful hammer blow that crushes most opponents. Pretty funky. We jump into the chain weapons after this, so we have a new assault chain axe, we've got a new eviscerator, and we have a new chainsword. So it's a new variant for all types. It's a Mark 12 chain axe, a Mark 15 eviscerator, and a Mark 13G assault chainsword. So they mention, for this patch we decided to make some changes and addition to make chain weapons play nicer. We hope that this will make all chain weapons more appealing and appreciated on all difficulties. One big problem with chain weapons was the risk-reward of the soaring attacks. The reward rarely outweighed the risk and frustration of getting stuck and unable to defend yourself. We added so that you can dodge cancel out of these attacks at the cost of stamina and missing out on the big payoff at the end. This will make the iconic soaring less risky and make the weapon more flexible and adaptable in combat. Of course, it does mention the chain axe specifically because it had a lot of issues. It wasn't the best. It's never been the best. But here we go. The Oristates Mark IV Assault Chain Axe has been a problematic weapon, leaving much to be desired, both when it comes to damage output and usability. With this patch, we've made some changes to it. Along with making the soaring attacks cancelable, we made the light chain and the heavy activated attack more vertical to make target acquisition easier and avoid hitting enemies at the edge of the screen. It also got a bit more bite in all of its attacks. So there we have it, it's going to get buffs for all of its attacks, change its moveset slightly, and you can cancel out of that special attack, so you don't get killed while you're stuck into all of those heretics. So, as we know already, we have the Agrippina Mark 14 Quickstraw Stub Revolver, which is a light stub revolver with a quick loader that reloads all bullets at the same time. Compared to the Zerona Mark 2A, it has a shorter range and a bit less accurate, and it has lower damage, but it excels in close range with a higher rate of fire, and a new braced stance that allows for fanning the gun for even higher fire rate. So that's pretty funky. Any revolver users are going to love that. The revolver did get hit with a couple of nerfs, which we will go through, but they're not the be-all and end-all. The revolver's still probably going to be stronger than the bolt gun. Looking at the patch notes. Rest in peace. We've got a Cantriel Mark X heavy las pistol, which is a heavier heavy las pistol compared to the Akatran MG Mark II. It has higher damage per shot and a slightly longer range for the cost of a slower fire rate. So, much like the infantry las guns, we have the 1A and the MG12. This is essentially what this las pistol is compared to the Akatran MG2. It's a slower, more powerful shot, and that's exactly what it is on paper. We've got the Katakan Mark VI Combat Blade, which is a knife that brings more horde controlling capabilities, with sweeping Vanguard heavies and a different light chain than the Mark III. The jab weapon special has also regained some of its lost power and should be able to stagger enemies again on both its Mark VI and the old Mark III knife. So yeah, this weapon looks pretty funky. It's like the other knife, but instead of single target, they've geared the moveset to more horde clearing. So that should be funky to see how that works out. You knife users are going to have to tell me if you're excited about that. But yeah, I'm not really the biggest knife user. Now we move on to Stimms. They mentioned that Stimms are designed to give a temporary boost that empowers the player for a short while. They're spawned in a mission at random, similar to how ammo and combat crates were. When we pick them up, they occupy a new dedicated slot available for small items. To select this new slot, press 4 on the keyboard or D-pad of the controller by default, and it blah 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 blah. So with the Stimms update comes a couple of new, little interesting tweaks. So we can use it on ourselves, which is the primary action, but we can use it on another player, like in Vermintide 2, if we hold the secondary action. However, we can also gift the item. They've included the ability for all consumable items, that includes scriptures, medkits, and ammo crates, that we can now gift them to another player, which is pretty funky. Away from all of that, let's see exactly what they do. The MedStim restores one health segment or 25% of max health, whichever one is larger, of the health and corruption damage. MedStims can't be used on a target, on oneself or other players if the target has no health or corruption damage to restore, so they can't be wasted. Good stuff. Combat Stims, which last 5 seconds, they have an increase in power by 25%, which is damage and stagger strength, a 25% increase in rending, and it reduces the peril generation by minus 35% for Psychers. So this is actually an absolutely massive beastly damage boost. I would think that this would come in handy for large groups of armoured enemies, such as Crusher squads that are about to end the team, or monstrosities as well. It might be worth holding these for the Karnak Twins if they're a super duper awful encounter to come across. So yeah, there's going to be lots of wild interactions with that one. We've got the Celerity Stim, which also lasts 15 seconds. They all last 15 seconds, so I won't mention that again. Increasing reload speed by 15%, reducing stamina cost by minus 25% for pushing, blocking, and minus 50% for sprinting. Increases attack speed by 20%, increases the following by 25%, the charge time for the plasma guns, the Psyker's Brain Burst and Psyker Staves, the speed of which the Psyker's Smite propagates between enemies, speed of which the Psyker can throw shards using a sail, and the speed of which Psyker quells their peril. So the Celerity Stim buffs the plasma gun and gives the Psykers a whole host of buffs as well. Very, very nice. Then we have the Concentration Stim, which is our fourth and final, which increases our combat ability cooldown regeneration by 300%. So that's going to be absolutely massive for a lot. I think mainly the support abilities, to be honest. So that would be the Veteran's Shout, which will be spammable now, which is incredible if you find a concentration stim. We have the Zealot's invulnerability one. I can't remember the name off the top of my head currently, as my mind's just gone totally blank. But yeah, this is going to be an absolutely bestial stim, and I'm very excited to use all of them. And now we move on to bug fixes and tweaks, and interestingly, they've put the veteran tree change in bug fixes and tweaks. I suppose it's a tweak, but it definitely was bug before. Come on, it was terrible, wasn't it? So they've moved all the talent nodes in the lower part of the tree to reduce the amount of points needed to reach the keystones, which they say in turn should open up the tree for more opportunities in making a build. As we can see, they've literally just condensed it all right at the bottom to make it easier to reach the keystones. It's a bit lame that we still have to go down one line. It looks like while they have condensed the middle bit a lot, the bit is still quite far down. So if you want to get some points down here, there's still quite a lot of points to go through here. I would have liked to see at least one way to cross, like maybe in the middle of the lower section. That would have really opened up a new level of customization, because if you're coming down here, you could just skip across to the right hand side further down the tree. But we'll have to wait and see to see how this handles. Let me know your thoughts on the change below. It's not a massive change, but it should help. It should help. So overall, I am pleased with the change they have made here. And then the patch note goes through various buffs and nerfs and little tweaks and changes. So I'll just mention quickly the main ones, just so we don't have to go through all of them in detail. If you really want to see the detailed descriptions, I've left the patch notes in the description below. The Assault Chain Axe has got a whole host of buffs. The Chainsword has been buffed as well. The Monitorum Sapper Shovels have all been buffed across the board, with light attacks getting a boost. And the Ogren Latrine Shovels have gotten a heavy attack boost against Unarmored and Infested as well. The Iron Helm Mark IV Thunderhammer, which didn't get a new variant, has had its attacks boosted, so its heavy attack strike down has had its power increased, so it shall do more damage than before, but still less than the Crucis Mark II. And they've moved around the combinations for that weapon again, but I never really used that Thunderhammer. You'll have to let me know if you're in favour of the moving around. They've increased the power of the special weapon jab attack with the Mark III Combat Blade, as it mentioned earlier in the patch notes, and they've buffed the Gryer Mark IV Braced Autogun with a flat 20% damage buff. They've mentioned that the Akatran MG12 heavy las pistol, has now had its attack speed reduced to what it was before patch 13. So it's a slight nerf for the Mark II as the Mark X comes into play. Now, they mentioned a couple of things that are going to reduce the power of the stub revolver. So it's had its carapace armor damage modifier reduced from 60% to 40%, but later on in the patch notes, they've nerfed hand cannon as well, which was a really potent blessing. And so at tier 4, that's been reduced from 80% to 60% rending on a critical hit. And after that, the notes just go into a lot of detail on the changes, which you can read yourself, because it'll take me hours to read it all to you. It's not as extensive as past patches, but yeah, I'd rather just gloss past it. I'll leave that for your eyes. So there's a couple of bits of bug tweaks, but the most interesting we have here are the changes to the enemies. So they've increased the health modifier for monstrous specials and Maelstrom missions from 25% to 40%, which is almost twice as much HP as they had before. For reference, a Damnation level Plague Ogre in a normal has about 60,000 health, so a monstrous special version had about 15,000. It's going to have more around 25 or something like that. My brain's not wired on for maths right now, and yeah. It's going to have more health, almost twice as much. And they've lowered Rager's base health from 1,200 to 1,000. And they should now be more easily heard as well. That's very interesting. Ragers were quite powerful. I wouldn't say they were too powerful, but now they're going to be a lot easier to kill. So we'll have to wait and see if that has substantially nerfed Ragers to the point where we can just obliterate them all. I'm sure it won't. The squads of Ragers were quite threatening. Yeah, that's one we'll have to feel out when we get into the game. They've removed instant toughness depletion on touching fire, which is pretty big. They've slightly increased the base damage though. They've increased both Flamer's action speed and fire size, removed toughness regen when standing in fire, and changed damage to tick higher the longer you stand in the fire to compensate. So buffs to the fire generally, but you won't lose your toughness instantly, and you can't regen when you're in there. That's pretty decent, not too bad. It might change the flow of gameplay, might change how threatening fire is generally, but we'll have to wait and see how much more damage it does, I suppose. And that pretty much brings us to the end of the Traitor Curse Part 2 Anniversary Update. I'll be sure to get a look at the new map up tomorrow, and we'll see just how good it looks. I'm very excited to get in there and play that, as they do an extremely good job at crafting new maps. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. Let me know your thoughts on Part 2 down below. Was it what you wanted it to be? Did you want it to be more? I think most people wanted it to be more in the weapons, but overall it's pretty decent. If they keep up this level of updates for the game, then I think I'll be happy. But at some point, I really do want a brand new weapon. At least one of them. There's a whole host. Yeah, drop your opinions down below, drop a sub if you liked this video, or you want to keep up with the ones I have upcoming. I'll be going through weapon reviews as well, now that all of the marks have come out. And yeah, I will catch you in the next video.